and it's a western juniper from California, collected by a friend of mine out there who collects old trees. And I bought it obviously because it's small, and has very large foliage, so we're going to graft Shimpaku onto it and make a small tree with it. But it's got beautiful dead wood. It gets a nice reddish bark. I think it's a hybrid between a Sierra juniper and a western juniper. Because I have a western, I also have another western juniper, but that's very blue. This is more green.
John, talk a little bit about what your vision is. You're going to take the tall growth off?
Well, yes, once this establishes,
right.
It might be a couple of years.
Yep.
So I think I envision only needing 3 grafts myself, maybe 4, but a leader, a side branch here, maybe a side branch here, and a back branch.
I see. Okay.
So whatever he doesn't do, I'll just finish at home. This is, so oftentimes people use Itoyagawa, which is a variety. Itoyagawa is a variety of Shimpaku that has very fine foliage, and that's often used.
Do you know what that is?
No, this is a hybrid. It is. It's called Kiyazura. Kiyazura is a hybrid of Itoyagawa and Kishu. It grows a little faster than Itoyagawa, which is slow.
Peter, do you want another table?
So we got a folding table too, if you want.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's up at the house. It's just set up.
In the mudroom?
Yeah. But check with Amanda if it's unlocked. So Kishu is a bigger scale foliage. Itoyagawa is much finer, and that's why people like Itoyagawa, because it's fine for small trees. This may be Itoyagawa, which he grafted onto here. Wow, what did he do here? Anyways, I think this is Itoyagawa, and you can see it's a little finer than this. Kishu's a little bigger than this, and this one called Kiyazura is kind of a hybrid of both. It's bright yellow with green like the Itoyagawa, but it grows faster. And the other advantage, if you ever gut it at Itoyagawa, if you cut this back too hard, if you have a tree and you cut it back way hard, it will revert to juvenile needle foliage, and that's one of the drawbacks of Itoyagawa.
How long does it usually take to get it back out of that juvenile foliage? Like
I'll
a
tell you from
5 or
experience,
done?
it took me 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
I had Akio Kondo from Japan was in the United States, and he worked on a little one that I had. And I found out later from Boone that that's not a special. He cut it back really hard,
Yep.
and went all to needle juniper. And you got to just let it grow out, and then the scale goes back.
Hey, what's up?
I was just talking about this, and this. I bought it 2 years ago. Jeremiah Lee from California collected it, and wanted a nice small tree. Peter's been doing grafting for how many years?
A long time.
A long time.
A long time.
He's very
Brian's getting
thorough,
big.
meticulous in his work. I'll let him talk about whatever he wants to, but he does very good work. Peter Keane.
Hey.
Hi.
Well, hey buddy.
How you doing? How you doing, buddy?
Thanks for having me. Sorry, a little late. It's just a little crowded on the bike and stuff. Yeah, I've been grafting at least 10 years, maybe 10, 12 years. And most of them are junipers. I do a lot of pines as well.
Excuse me, Peter. Have you had your shots?
No.
No, I was going to say you could probably take your mask off. But it's up to you.
Yeah, I start that in a couple of
Okay,
weeks, so.
just try to speak up a little if you can.
Okay, so what we're doing here is a demonstration on what's called side veneer or Scion grafting on John's Rocky Mountain juniper. And first of all, I asked John the other week to notify everyone about maybe checking grafting workshops or demonstrations on YouTube. Has anyone done that?
Yep, yeah.
Okay, and what did you find out, or what did you discover?
For Scion or for
Either.
approach graft or
Anything.
anything?
Yeah.
We've actually been doing,
Doing a lot of apple juice.
we have an orchard, so we, to get the different types of apples, multiple types of the tree, we've been doing that the past couple weeks. Same principles.
Those are more like we store it in like the crisper drawer versus like taking something live,
Yeah.
currently growing and putting it in.
Okay.
So
Okay. Anyone else?
The Scion that seem to be thicker and the foliage coming off in different directions,
Uh-huh.
which I thought you used more of the foliage. I don't know what I'm trying to say now.
How do you mean?
Well, when he put it on, he said you want it to be the exact same thickness of a branch that you're going into the Scion. Where I thought the Scion had to be more of little softer wood, and not as thick. It didn't, as long as the cambium was lined up.
Okay. Ideally, it would be great if you found, like Scion wood, the same thickness as the branch that you're grafting to, because that way you're more likely to get cambium matching inside of your cut pieces, okay? But most of the time, that's really not the case, okay? And that's what we're going to have here. We have branches and a trunk. This is possibly, I'm going to get something that's close to the caliber of the Juniper Scion that I'm going to harvest from this nice healthy Zero from the Ushis in California. Does anyone else have thoughts or questions about what they've seen on some grafting demonstrations on YouTube? Anyone else? No? Okay. Typically, the questions that I had when I saw them is that they tend to graft a little earlier in the season, like late February or early March, than what I do. I remember when I was starting out with grafting, that's what it was told to me, you know, to do my juniper and pine grafting is around that time. It's just that I found my experiences weren't very good. My graft projects were failing when I was doing it at that time. So it could be either the seasons that we have here in New England, or it could have been my inexperience to grafting. But what I had found over the course of some years with trial and error, when I'm doing juniper grafting, I tend to have more success and a higher graft yield when I'm doing it later in the spring season, sort of like kind of like mid-April and onward. John?
Do you still do pines early though?
Yeah, I will do my pines earlier. I'll do those like the first or second week of March, and I like to have them in a protected environment. Because you know now with you know, prior to all this like crazy climate change, I would still need a greenhouse, you know, a nice stable temperature, you know, to bring to be more successful with my my side veneer grafting and stuff. Okay, but the latest that I have done juniper Scion or side veneer grafting is it was Memorial Day weekend many years ago. I had come down here when Toshi owned the nursery and ran it, and he got a whole bunch of Parsons junipers up from California, and I saw one that I just fell in love with. And so I took it home and I says, well, okay, at least I have it now. I'll just, you know, nurture it for a year and then start my grafting next spring. But I says, well, what the hell, I have it now, so I think I'll give it a try. And I just put a bunch of grafts on there, and they were actually successful. About 6 weeks later, you know, they were showing, you know, signs of growth, and then, you know, so I just did my my normal aftercare procedures with that, and you know, with the cultivation practices and stuff, and you know, it took very well. So that just told me I can graft later in the year rather than early March. you know, and we'll be more successful with that.
When were you doing that again?
I did, the latest I did that was Memorial Weekend.
Uh-huh.
You know, so, but I'm doing it a little bit earlier, like kind of like mid-April to later April, you know, early May. I want to avoid the really hot season, you know, with that when I'm doing it. So with the other thing about it is too is with the shoot, I like to cover it in what's called like parafilm tape or buddy tape. I'm trying to open it up so I can give people a sample, see what it's like. And buddy tape is a blend of, this is something that you cover the foliage with. It's perforated tape, if anyone's seen it. You can touch it, and you can stretch it. And it's, buddy tape is a blend of Teflon, rubber, and paraffin wax. And those three properties allow the Scion to, it's got some breathability to it, and it's also self-adhesive. As I'm winding it around the foliage, it'll stick to itself. So it'll allow sunlight in there, but it's also opaque enough to keep the shoot from torching, and it will hold moisture in and still allow air circulation too. I've actually looked at it. I had a friend of mine, she sells microscopes, and as a favor she had photographed a couple of pieces of the buddy tape under it to show, you know, the structure of it, and there's pores in the film and stuff, so when you stretch it out the pores open up, you know, to help with that air circulation.
Did you compare it to the parafilm?
I'm sorry?
Did you compare it to the parafilm? Because I know that's the other.
No, it's buddy tape. I don't know if it's sliced parafilm or perforated parafilm or what, but that's how it's marketed, and that's how it's described as the composition of its material.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, okay. And when there's several types of approaches to designing a juniper when you're grafting. You can throw a whole bunch of them on there, almost like a shotgun style, and see what lives, and see what you're going to have in a couple of years, so you can make your design. There's another way of doing it, which is to have your tree design in mind, and then try to go for that design, you know, as you're starting out. And if you get it, you know, you're kind of ahead of the game. You're not having to rethink what you're going to do. Okay. So with John's tree here, I asked him early on if he could send me some pictures of the tree in advance, so it would just kind of help me get a design in mind as to what I'm going to do with it. But the other kind of principle you want to keep in mind when you're going to do a project like this is you want to have a very healthy rootstock and a very strong rootstock, which this is. And you also want to have a very strong and healthy Scion wood, which this is. Okay? Both of them are coming out of dormancy, or this is probably maybe a little further along than this. So, you know, it's got very good color, and it's pushing very hard. So I see this is going to be a pretty successful project.
So you want both the understock and the donor to be about in the same stage. You don't want one in the greenhouse and one still outside.
No, not with a juniper.
Okay.
Those look both the same.
Yep. Okay, so they have they're kind of, so I would say or assume that they're at the same pace in terms of their where they are in the season as well. With John's tree, I don't see putting like 10, 15 grafts on here. I see maybe 2, maybe 3. They're very close to the trunk. All the interest is in the tree is in this wiggle down here, in this dead wood. If anyone's gotten a chance to look at it beforehand, okay? All the interest is down in here. So that's what I want to kind of dress around. Put the shoe in. You said this a Sierra?
It might be a hybrid because I have a Western that's mature. Wasn't sure if it was a hybrid. Probably a Sierra.
Yeah. Okay.
So you going with the targeted approach or the shotgun approach?
I'm going to go with a target. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean off a little bit of the deadwood, just to explore and discover where the live tissue is where I want to put my shoe. Okay.
Now with the targeted method, if you find that a graft doesn't take, can you hit it the next year?
That was
Try
my
again?
question too.
Yep. And
Actually, 2 failed last year.
yeah.
Boone and I did them early April, and then we got really cold after cold weather.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
So,
New England, you're just gonna be.
I see one. I see one here. It looks like there's some callus.
yeah.
Do you have to move it off to the side of that callus usually, or is it like can you hit the same spot again, or is it just less effective?
You want to be near it. The thing with conifers and evergreens, it's you can like once you have a shoot that's grafted and it's kind of pushed some growth on here, like this one here. I'll talk about this one too. You can kind of bend into the same spot. It's a little bit different. The deciduous you want to have it coming out exactly where it should be coming out, but with the conifer you can kind of get around that and do some bending. So sometimes with dead wood you want to be a little bit further away because sometimes the tree, over time it's not a static process. The tree can be choosing to kill off more tissue in the future or whatnot. So you want to be mindful of that. If you have a tree with a lot of dead wood on it, is it stable? How long has it been in the pod? Is it still going to be killing off tissue nearby?
You said pines and junipers like mid-April, mid-May?
Pines probably the first and second week of March.
Oh, earlier.
Yeah, a lot earlier. When you start to see
okay.
the terminal buds start to swell a little bit, that's when you go after it.
And how about deciduous?
Deciduous, I don't really do much deciduous. I actually don't do any. If I do, I'll do like a thread graft on it, and that's just as the buds are starting with a thread graft.
Is that because you don't think the side veneer tends to work?
No, they do work. I've seen plenty of videos on it, and I've seen illustrations on it. It's just that I just don't have a liking for deciduous trees. There are other people that do. Sergio Quan, he did a marvelous illustration of I think moving a branch from a deciduous tree. I don't know what kind it was, to a higher area, to a lower area. And I think Michael Hagen he showed it in one of his blog, his mailers or emailers, where he had actually taken a branch, rooted it, and brought it down on a maple and actually made a trunk out of it. So,
And how about tropicals?
I don't do anything with tropicals. It's just a preference. Anyone else? Right. Before I get into that, I just want to show this a little bit. This is Keane grafted to California juniper. I did this many years ago, and I got the tree from here. And this was actually the top third of a much larger tree. I had done a trade with Toshi for it. And what the goal was to take the top third and make its own tree, separated. They had grafted roots to it, as well as foliage. And they had Scions all over it. They had root grafts all around the circumference. And then what had happened was one winter, the whole entire tree came down with a massive fungal attack, and it killed everything but what's left on here. So this is what I have left. And this past winter, I spent time cleaning off all the old dead bark, and the wood's pretty hard. So what I'm doing is just on wet. When we're having the wet season, that's when I'll just do like a natural, like tearing up the texture just to open it up, rather than hitting it with Dremels or Makitas and stuff, you know, just to give it a more weathered, natural look. But in the future, this is going to be it's a semi-cascade design is what I have in mind. I'm hoping to get some more budding further and closer to the trunk to have a better, a more compact design. So, and I don't know if anyone can see, but there's a very small, very thin live vein in there, and there's a stump of a root graft below that. So that's what I have. I'm hoping I don't come down with borers then. It's so.
Will you find that live vein there like fatten a little bit, or is that about as big as it's going to get because it's in like a slot?
It's probably got, like, on the trunk part, it's probably going to be about as wide as it's going to be, but it might bulk out from that. Now, what I have on the branch itself, that'll get wider and that'll get thicker. But I'm going to, because we're having a lot of high winds now, it seems to be changing as well. What I'm going to be doing is just putting a piece of grafting tape on there so it just doesn't get caught in the wind and snap. So, but this will get thicker. This is the branch that it's attached to. It was live at one time. That's going to dissolve and probably rot off, and then, but it'll be a lot thicker and it will be a lot more stable and strong that I can actually work with. So okay, now I'm going to get back to John's tree. Here know where what they would consider as a front or a planting angle?
Like front or planting?
Or what kind of style it's going to be, like formal upright or windswept?
Obviously formal upright, I think. Better forest.
Yeah. And so we'll all have to stand like this to be able to see.
You know, just have a few, and then then it becomes a formal upright.
Yeah.
Can you revolve
turn
it
it
a little
around?
bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
This is where it starts to look interesting to me.
This side here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I feel the same way.
We're going to see the deadwood on this one.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh yes.
That's pretty good too.
That one's not bad, yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, I would
I
tilt
like that.
Anyone like this?
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone like this?
One where the salt that we
Yeah. This way.
thereabouts.
Okay, cool.
With a little angle.
How about that? Is this more static or more dynamic?
The other way better.
The other way better? Anyone else?
See it again over here.
Is this more static or more dynamic than the other
That's way more
considered
dynamic.
front? I'm sorry?
It looks a lot more dynamic to me.
This one is, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Turn it around.
Mm. Pot's blocking a lot, unfortunately.
I didn't bring my grinder.
Yeah, if you lose the deadwood on that side.
What's that?
From this angle, I don't like that as much.
You don't like it?
No.
Anyone else?
Sean, did you mark your preferred front?
Excuse me?
Did you mark your preferred
Yeah,
front?
it's your tree.
That's alright, that's right where I had it too.
Somewhere around there? Now what I'm going to do, there's a lot of small sprigs of foliage in like crotch angles and stuff, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clean all that up.
have the most important question.
You do?
I'm a lefty like you, and I can't use left-handed
I can't hear you with the bikes.
scissors. I'm a lefty like you, and I don't use left-handed scissors.
You don't?
Are those left-handed?
I have no idea. I
They
got a
work
left-handed
for-
ladder at home though.
That yeah, they cost more though. I won't.
Yeah, they work great.
Now they make left-handed scissors, but they do not work as good as right-handed.
Yeah, I think I did buy a pair. And,
Yeah, me too.
I'm
Years
having that
ago.
problem.
And I put them in an auction.
And grafting knives, the same kind of thing. It's just that they're more expensive, and I end up turning them upside down or something to work with them.
So John, do you now use your right hand or do you use
Oh yeah, I
left-handed?
use my right hand.
hand.
really?
Always use my right hand for cutting.
Also, see on the top how it kind of little right angle, that chunk. Is the plan to keep that? or
This
is it-
here?
Yeah, kind of like it juts out like maybe an inch or two. Yeah, that little 2-inch section that goes
This?
horizontal.
This.
That.
There,
This?
there,
That.
there.
Nope.
This.
This section here.
Uh-huh.
Is the plan to keep that or to get that off, like make a new apex, like we use that for an apex? Are you trying to bring it down, or is the foliage going to go above that point and hide it?
Well, what I'm going to do. All right, I'll give away the game. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a graft on this one, for the back one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to see if I can squeeze one on here.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And I'd like to get one on here as well.
Yeah, so you'd have to keep that.
Okay. And the bonus bud, I'm gonna throw one on here just for kicks, just to see what it does. Okay.
So are none of them are going to go on the trunk? You're going more on, mostly on branches? Is that
I'm
correct?
gonna go on branches. I could put one on here, but I'm probably, not gonna use it.
Okay.
It's just that these smaller ones are a lot more flexible. Okay, and they offer a lot more versatility and options in the future when you're wiring the tree up. But I'm going to maybe leave this, or I'm going to prune it back a little bit in order to redirect the energy into creating and forming callus tissue at the graft unit itself. Okay?
So you're saying if there's too much foliage above it, would favor that foliage and just neglect?
Yeah, it's going to continue to push its resources into this and totally disregard what's been going on lower. Oh, I think I discovered the other graft. There's one
On top of there.
Yeah, there's one on here. So I can go on the side of that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm going to continue to clean out that area because it's going to open it up for sunlight.
What's your general post graft placement of your trees? Are you keeping them properly shaded? Or?
No, I throw them right in full sun.
Really?
Yep. And then it's just that when they start coming out of their, when they start to expand and come out and push out of the tape, I'll open the tape up a little bit, just to get, like, as if you were using like a plastic bag. And then by that time I've actually moved it to morning sun and afternoon dappled shade. I've got plenty of trees in my yard where I can
But
kind of
before
do
that, you're in full sun.
I'm sorry?
You're in full sun before that.
Yeah, until that time. The graft itself usually takes about maybe 6 weeks, 7 weeks to actually push through. I brought in some graft examples. I'm going to put on my notebook here. Tablet, notebook. And I'll let you see it. You can kind of pass it around. It'll kind of give you an idea of what they look like and what to expect.
is.
Mm-hmm.
No rain. But how about are your trees still there?
Yeah, I left them in. I've got a couple, still just some larches and ponderosa still outside, but maybe next week then. We'll see how it goes. I gotta clean
Stand over here.
back there. I'm just lazy about it. Everything leaked out though.
Yeah,
But I did lose my pretty certain.
That's the little one, right?
No, the big one that I got here with the the double pink. Yeah.
They're tough plants.
So I mean, it flowered this year, and I was excited, and then I saw the that black.
It's a bit easier because you have less maintenance with it. You're not constantly having to check on the hydration of the shoot.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to keep it in.
So when you're
They
using
are
that tape,
difficult.
you get like
I don't even know why.
a little bit of stretch, but not push it to that
The one I
maximum
got
stretch
seems to
point.
be
Um,
strong.
I'll stretch it as much as I think I can get away with.
We're snapping it.
Yeah, that's where the arts comes in.
That's what I've been doing with the apples. Is there's certainly that fine point of it like stops. It hits a resistance point
Yeah.
with the stretch.
Uh-huh. You want to give it some opacity, but you don't want to
I figured I'd find enough for
lose that and allow too much
Take this
sunlight.
fair out.
If it shuts off, let me know. I'll just.
Graphs. Not a lot of graphs, but
Yeah.
got some good time lapses of.
Yeah, I just saw a couple. Still thinking about that one. What did you,
I could have cleaned for another hour.
what did you graft on it?
I bought some. I bought.
Have you ever grafted Hinoki cypress onto anything? Like,
Yeah, on itself.
on itself?
Yeah.
How about on a white cedar?
I've seen examples of it. I'd like to try it.
No, you can't see it.
They've grafted. I've read somewhere.
I have a little camera. The camera's gonna work, but
It has the genetic, the genetic code or something. Is very similar. Whether they had any, I don't know if they've had success.
I was thinking of cypress with white cedar. I'm assuming similar time frame for juniper.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it on something that you paid a lot of money for.
No, I was gonna.
No.
I got a perfect experiment tree to try it on.
Uh-huh.
Is that how you started out? Just like shotgun approach, see what works,
Yeah.
refine the technique.
The guy who taught me was he managed the landscape of an estate in southern New Hampshire, and he gave there was a notice of a grafting workshop, and they were all doing
Look it up.
black pine with hot callus method, which is another topic. And so I says, well, I've got a juniper I want to prepare for next year. So I went in there with a practice tree and some Scion wood, and we did that. And I think 1 out of 7 took. So, you know, and then so the following year we did the big one, the main one that I wanted to do. I didn't do it with shimpako. I did it with Blas juniper foliage, and I entered it in the national exhibition in 2016, I think. So it came out to be like a semi-cascade tree. It's one of my best trees. It's one of my earliest projects too.
How many of the Huddle Creek did you buy?
Well, I used to go there every time there was a national exhibition. You know, I'd pick up something if I liked it. I've probably got about 3 or 4 of them now. You know, I've got 2 from here, from that batch.
Yeah.
So, and one of my clients has one as well that I'm caring for. And what I've also discovered too is as just going along trying them, I found that some juniper rootstocks tougher with taking. I'm told that because this is a California rootstock, I'm told this is very tough to do, but you know, outside of the fungal attack, it's done very well. Sometimes I've had trouble with Rocky Mountain juniper taking. You know, Parsons juniper tends to take very easily, which I'm pleased with. Procumbens takes pretty easily as well. San Jose's, sometimes they can be tricky, but it really, I think it depends on the health of them when, you know, whether they're up to snuff. They're fully healthy when you're going after it, when you're doing it.
I'm assuming you wouldn't graft in the same year that you repotted, even if the roots would have had a pretty solid stock, like, or.
Well, actually, I'm going to try that. I took a tree about 3 years ago. I live in Salem, Mass, and I actually met a guy from Georgia at the 2016 National Exhibition who has a son in Beverly, the next town over from me. And we got to talking, and he told me his son is going to be changing the landscape of his home on his property. And they invited me up to look at stuff, and, you know, to see if there was anything I wanted to, you know, take, you know, while I had the chance. So I found these two wonderful Parsons junipers, like growing on either side of their entry door, and there was a San Jose off under the shade. So I got all three of them. And last year, I took one of the Parsons and I rotated it 90 degrees. And this year, I did the same thing with the other Parsons. I rotated it 90 degrees and, you know, reduced the root ball as well. And what I noticed too is within the week, I did this last a week ago yesterday, you know, with the student. And what I noticed is the long wispy foliage is already orienting itself. It's already reaching, you know, for the sun in the proper direction that it's at now. So that tells me that
It's responding
yeah,
well.
it's responding well. And so what I plan to do is approach graft Keane in a couple of weeks. You know, once I think it's, you know, stable enough in the pot to do. So I'm going to try, you know, grafting and repotting in the same year. I've actually done air layering and side veneer grafting on that same branch at the same year as well. So that's another tree. It's a small tree. I could have brought that in to show that. But so there are some things you can get away with and stuff. If you think you can. If not, then that's okay. I have more, you know, whips that I can use next year if it's not successful.
So within the general guideline framework of time, you just probably want to look at it at a tree by tree basis. How is the tree doing?
Yeah, with a small tree like this, if I had done a major excavation of roots, I wouldn't touch it in terms of grafting. So it's also the size of the tree and the scale of what you're doing as well. These things are like, they're big things.
Yeah, house shrubs inside of.
Yeah. Getting smaller.
Mhm.
Right now, just cleaning up, chipping away at some of the flakiness of the bark and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yep, and finding live tissue, so to ensure I'm going to
Would a wire brush be too abrasive? Too I don't know.
Depends if it's there's brass, there's stainless, there's nylon. You know, whatever's not going to be too harsh on it. If you're scraping until you see green, then you've gone too far. You're too hard. So if it's something like this, I'm not exactly familiar. You see, that's another question that's leading into another kind of topic. The phloem tissue, which is on the outside of the cambium tissue that you want to get at, varies in thickness according to what juniper you're working on. See, the San Jose has a very thick phloem tissue. Procumbens has a very thin phloem tissue. So that's something you're also going to need to take into account when you're cleaning up your bark. You know, and if you want to use a brush or a pick or your fingernail or something. Okay.
Do you prefer the pick because it's more controlled?
It depends. See, because right now I was using a pick, but I was cleaning the trunk, and now I'm using my thumb and finger on the outside of this branch here, rather than using a pick, because I know the pick is going to be much too harsh, and it's going to cut too much tissue and cause stress on the tree. And when you are grafting, if you're doing multiple Scion buds on something like this, the approach that you want to take would be similar to the approach that you want to take when you're actually wiring out a tree. You're starting at the lowest point and moving outward, you know, lower to higher. It's the same thing with your wiring. That way, if you're doing like higher to lower, you've got a likelihood of, or a risk of actually knocking the bud off, breaking it, or knocking the graft union out of position. So you want to start lower to higher, inside to out. Okay. And now I'm going to start looking for some wood. Oh, I wanted to talk tools. It's my pouch. I ran over a bug. I'm going to just show people. You can all take a look at what I'm going to show you. I have several types of knives that I use, and I find that I use them all, depending on what I'm cutting into, depending on how easy or difficult it is to get into the tissue itself. You want to take a look. All right. Start to talk like this. This is what like an agricultural, or like a production grafting site or facility would use. Something like this, like for apples or other deciduous or conifers. The nice thing about it is it has this flared out kind of lip on the end of it. And what that's for is once you make your cut into the wood tissue itself, sometimes the flap tends to fall back, and what this will do, this will just kind of raise it so you can get your Scion wood in there. Okay? That's what that is. See that? Okay.
You're saying that flared end acts kind of like a scoop?
Yeah.
Wedge.
Yeah, or like a spatula to lift the flap so you can put your Scion in.
Because you don't want to get your finger, like, the oil, right?
Right.
From
That's
touching it yourself.
Yeah, you don't want to get, the oil, salts, or other type of dirt inside the exposed tissue, because that's going to create a barrier between, prevent the candy from matching. Okay, what I have here is, I'll talk about this one here. And this is what you might see common in, the YouTube grafting videos. Okay, and it's a right-handed knife, and most of them are pushing through their wood. Okay, I do it differently. I pull towards the wood. I feel I have more control doing it this way. You can see the shape of it. It's on a curve. You see that? And this is called the pistol grip, because the grip is like a pistol, and it gives you a nice, comfortable, safe way of holding your knife. You have a lot of control with it. This is kind of what I started out with, and this is a lot thinner. This one's by Yoshiaki. I bought this in California one time out at Eldorado Bonsai, just there, the first store. I mostly use this. It's a lot thinner. It's a lot easier to hold and handle, and I think it's a lot sharper than the other knives.
That'd be for probably finer work, smaller trees.
Yeah, yeah. And I have
Think it's
here
sharper because of the composition of the steel.
probably because of the alloy itself.
Yep.
And this one here is we all know this is the Victorinox.
Yep.
I bought this at a nursery near me, a landscape nursery. And it's a left-handed knife. So, but when I use it, I'm going to pull, so I'll turn it upside down so I can get that pull. Okay. They didn't have any right-handed knives, oddly enough. You know, it's like my shoe size is tough to find too because it's such a common size. So it's always selling out. This I find pretty useful. And these I'm going to talk about as well. These are grafting chisels. They're by Masakuni. They come in 7.5 millimeter, and that's a dimension of the width of the tip of the cutting blade itself. So they come in 7.5, 6, and I think 4.5. I don't use the 4.5 for anything, so I left that at home. I bought them as a set of 3 many years ago, and I got a good deal on it.
Yeah, I got a set. I use. Is that the 7?
Yeah, this is the 7.5.
I use it.
And the other one's what, 6, you said?
Yeah, the other one's a 6. They're labeled
Yeah,
on
the
the
4 is
bottom.
too small.
Okay. And the nice thing about these is when I'm cutting into the tissue's not running or widening. Okay. And when you have like a really wide flap of tissue when you're cutting into your wood, that's more tissue that has to heal. So this you have a very controlled slice or cut. So which I find to be useful.
You use that rather than the knife?
Yeah, when I'm on on something as small as this, I'm going to be using one of these.
I see.
But if I was going to do something like on the trunk itself, I would probably use one of the bigger ones, you know, just to ensure that I have enough exposed tissue to work with. Okay, now I'm going to start selecting my Scion wood for John's tree here.
Peter, do you hand sharpen everything?
Oh yeah.
You're like you use it, a couple cuts, sharpen, like you. Do you sharpen very frequently, or is it like more here and there when you notice it dulling?
It depends. I'll before I do anything, any kind of grafting, I'll make sure that I do sharpen, you know, my knives fresh. And then as I'm going through it, like if I had something large, like one of the thinner junipers, what I would have done is I would have brought my sharpening tools. Because after 2 or 3 Scions, because junipers are pretty hard wood, after 2 or 3 Scions, then I'd have to resharpen, and then go back 2, 3 more, resharpen. And you can actually feel it as you get to the 3rd one. It's tougher to make your cut, you know. And so that's that. But that also too, if I'm on a time constraint, I have several knives, and then you know I'll just do a couple on one knife, and then just go through all my knives just to get it done, you know. And with something like these, boy, you get a lot of sun to choose from. Nice tree.
That's what I bought it for.
I use it for grafts.
You do.
I just let it grow.
We'll talk about the donor plant with the Scion wood itself. Now John knows this variety, and I really don't. He's calling it a hybrid between what now?
The Toigawa and Kishu.
Okay, and what are the properties of it?
Well, it doesn't revert to juvenile as quickly as Toyogawa can if you overcut it, and it grows a little faster than a Toyogawa.
Okay.
But it's not quite as big. Oh, although it looks the same or even smaller, bigger than yours, Kishu.
Oh yeah, it does look bigger.
Supposedly it's not. Maybe you can understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your runners are more kind of bigger. When you get it down.
Okay. What I'll do is I'm going to take one shoot off and show you how I'm preparing it before I actually do the graft. So
If you do that in that order, or the Scion, website?
Yep. Some people will make the cut and then they'll prepare the stem.
Okay.
Do you need a bowl of water or anything?
Oh, water would be nice, Robert. Thank you.
I mean, not to drink. I'll get you some to drink, but I mean to put the cutting in. Do you
Oh
need-
no.
No.
You watered them last night, right?
I'll-
Thought he was being nice to me.
Make you drink out of a bowl? That's nice.
That is an interesting question though. You know, if you know, like, hey, I'm gonna graft tomorrow, you make sure that your Scion plant, what you're gonna take Scions from, is well watered the day before.
Yep, well hydrated.
Okay.
You want them both hydrated. So what I'm doing now is I've chosen a shoot here that I'm going to take make a Scion out of. And I want to have nice I want to have a nice caliper to work with.
Caliper meaning the diameter of that.
Yeah, thickness of the shoot itself. And that way I won't lose the shoot when I'm cutting it into it with a knife. There's plenty of wood that's going to give it some structural support when it's being attached to the host plant. Okay?
How many years back will you use for Scion?
The wood?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how. I mean, I didn't bring my magnifying glass to like count the rings and that.
No, in other words, so if could you use a 5-year-old, you know, like a half-inch caliper? Have you ever tried a real thick Scion?
Not for thank you, for side veneer. What I would do that with is that would give me enough wood for doing an approach graft.
Okay.
So
All right.
that people can kind of see something. And you can see how scaly it is on there as well. I'm going to clear the scales off as well so they don't, you know, get into the exposed tissue. And I also didn't cut flush with the trunk, with the stalk itself. Did you see that? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take advantage of the meristem tissue, and it's going to sprout back, but on that in the future. So even though I have foliage out here for a tighter design, I'm going to be closer to the graft union with it, which is what I've been trying to get on that thing for several years. It just hasn't been cooperating, and hopefully this will be the year.
Yeah.
The other thing too is when I'm doing it, I want to cut the straightest piece so I can have a nice flush, plain graft union. Because like part of it is on a curve, but if I turn it around, I'm sure I'm going to find a nice straightish piece to cut. And now this is going to be too much foliage as a Scion itself, you know, for the tree. So what I'm going to be doing is reducing the amount of foliage on top to be proportionate enough for the stem wood itself, so it just doesn't overtax the tree and you take on too much water and nutrients and actually desiccate. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. Now I'm going to wrap it up. And this is, it's kind of a trick to it. It's a nice warm day, so this stuff is going to stretch really well. I actually have a photograph of it. I've actually stretched this to close to a foot without it actually tearing.
Well, a warm day.
Yeah. Well, it was a cold day. I just held it between my palms
Yeah.
and stretched it out. It just kind of made it more pliable. Okay, but I'm going to do that here. Just a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll just get to the corner of the tape to hold at the base, almost like wrapping a bouquet or something. Okay. Just turning it around. And then just wrap the foliage, and it's going to be wrapped upon itself. And junipers are kind of delicate, so the idea is to keep stretching it. I'm going to go the other way since
Do you ever pre-stretch it, or just stretch it as you go?
I stretch it as I go. I have more control over it. Yeah, allegedly. So, must be the tape. Okay.
So the idea is you're encapsulating the foliage.
Yep.
Rather than just massage the back.
You don't want to have more than 50% of coverage, because that will work against the shoot having air circulation. So,
But it holds the moisture.
50%.
the tape.
The tape, yeah.
See, the tape is a blend of paraffin wax, Teflon,
Yep.
and rubber. The rubber gives it the flexibility and stretchability. The Teflon gives it the strength, like what plumbers use, Teflon for joints, pipe joints. And the paraffin wax keeps the shoot from drying out and desiccating. And it gives it some adhesion, so it sticks to itself.
Nice.
So you can kind of see that. Because you want to have it's cloudy before you do any stretching. You want to stretch it to open it up to so you see green, so sunlight's going to get in and allow the shoot to photosynthesize.
I didn't understand the 50% thing.
50%? Okay.
Like a double coverage.
I think you mean overlap, right?
Yeah,
The overlap.
The overlap of 50%. No more than that, because you're going to be.
Well, it's more opaque where it overlaps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really what you're looking for is a single layer in the end?
Yeah. You don't want to have any exposed.
No exposed.
Any exposed like foliage,
Yeah.
because then it's going to dry out.
So did it just seal up when you got to the end? It kind of sticks to itself. And,
Yeah. I've got a lot of experience with South
You kind of give it a little twist. So the idea is to make sure the moisture isn't getting in and seal it in. It's the moisture that's in itself.
Yeah, so the moisture inside doesn't go. No, I haven't. Much what? For the other one. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, after all that, talking about the foliage and the tape, the flakiness on the Scion itself, on the stem wood, I'm just going to clear that off with my thumb, with my nail. And then I'm going to turn it around and just study to see where is the straightest piece on the stem wood itself, so I can make my cuts. And I'm going to make two cuts. One is a wedge cut, which is going to hold up the flap that's going to be on the tree itself. And the other one is going to be the wedge cut is a short cut, and the longer cut is the cut that's going to be making contact with the branch cambium.
So that the loose surface area is actually.
Yep, that's right. So that's about an inch, maybe an inch to an inch and a half is what I'll use. And with pines, I can actually get away with stem wood being a lot shorter. And the reason being is that the cambium layer on pines is a lot thicker than the cambium layer on a juniper. So with the juniper, you want to better your chances of hitting the target by having a longer piece of stem wood. But you know, nothing more than like an inch and a half. So now I'm going to choose a knife. Try to do something else too. And I like this, and I like to draw towards me because it gives me more control then push it.
That's the wedge cut.
It's not as it's not a narrow angle, because I want to be able to force up the flap.
Push it, yeah, it'll push it over.
Yeah, you see that?
It's like a 45.
Yeah, it's like a 45 maybe, or a 60, or you see that?
Sure.
Some people make them longer because they feel that they're going to benefit from the exposed cambium making contact with the flap. I don't know if that's true, so I like to make it shorter because I'd rather not have you know, more than I need. You know? And some people have read in books, and I've seen other people teach it. They'll make their long cut first and then the short cut second. You know, that their flap. I like to do it the other way around, because that way I'm exposing. I'm not making contact with my fingers on the exposed tissue. You know, getting dirt, salt, oils in there, which would kind of obstruct cambium from matching. Okay, there's my long cut. See that?
Oh yeah.
So are you more than halfway through the? No, just about halfway through. In other words,
Of the caliper?
Yeah.
No, I just want to expose,
Okay.
because I need to give it some structural strength.
So about a third then?
Maybe that, maybe less.
Okay.
Pre-COVID.
Need a light?
It looks like a European rolled cigarette.
It looks like
Don't
a
forget the
doobie.
pass.
Yeah, because it dries out super quick. It's such a small.
Do you need a set of hands?
And that's a reasonably thick cambium. I mean, reasonably thick flown. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, is because it's exposed, and I don't want to cause any desiccation. See? Right in there. And it's a little thicker, so I want to go for one side rather than the other. Now, the tape I'm using to tie that together is not the buddy tape. It's the polyethylene tape, which I think is stronger for holding it. And I'll tie it like I'm tying raffia. And I do this a little different than what other people do. So, and you're going to see that. What I'll do is I'll take a shorter end and push it out, and the longer end I'll just wrap it until I get out, because I'm going to use the end of the shorter one to make my tie. Okay? See that? And I want to, it doesn't matter, the coverage on this could be 50, 60, 100%.
You just want good adhesion.
Yeah.
Good
I just want
contact.
good tying strength.
Stuck.
And you use that tape because it's stronger or because it's not porous?
It's not porous, and it's also stronger than the buddy tape. This is what I.
So not being porous is an advantage then?
Yeah, because you want the pores to
Everything to hold in there.
yeah,
Not move as much.
for the foliage.
Well, you also don't want it to bleed, right?
It's not really gonna bleed.
John, is that carved at all? That trunk? Or?
No, that's all natural. That's why.
Let's get another one.
Wow.
Why I bought it. He found it in California in the mountains.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Jeremiah's he's out.
Jeremiah Lee.
Jeremiah Lee. He's collected some really nice trees.
Yeah, I've seen the big ones.
So what happened on that one that you're starting over?
Well, it got caught on one of the splinters.
Got it.
So
Oh, so it cut it, sliced it.
yeah, it just tore right through it.
Hmm.
So, we'll do it again. If I had tweezers, which I do.
Yeah, I got it.
Get it?
Yep.
You usually have an extra hand doing this, I bet.
What's that?
So I bet you don't have an extra hand all the time when you're doing this.
No. Okay.
After you get it wrapped, what's the best way to just tie it off, or
Yeah, the first one he left.
a little bit out?
Yeah, and he's wrapping around that one.
Yeah, is that what it is? You're trapping the short tag,
Yeah, and then they'll tie.
and then you'll have it at the end. Okay.
Like you said, that's kind of how they do raffia. Some people.
Yeah. And I like to get all the coverage.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how far. You go right up to the foliage.
Yeah, I go up to the buddy tape. I've seen it where it's you have stem wood exposed, but I don't know if there is any moisture, transpiration, or desiccation through the stem wood itself. So I don't want to take any chances. So I just want to ensure that all of the living tissue is covered. See? And this is where I'm going to stop. Now with this, I'm just going to tie it off on the side here.
I didn't see if it was long cut down or up.
The long cut is down. See?
Yeah, the long cut goes into the wood.
And the short cut pushes the flap up. And I want my knot to be on the opposite side of the Scion.
All these little details.
They add up.
Yeah, it all matters, right?
Yeah, all these nickels add up.
Is that so there's a little bit less pressure?
If you
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't want to put a kink in your vascular tissue on the Scion.
Jamie sent a couple of links that I need to send you. There's some good ones. Fred Miyahara in San Diego. He's very good.
Yep.
And I forget his first name.
He put cut paste
Yeah,
in the
Enrico
spot that he
Savini.
was left
Yeah.
open. He did the same thing.
Right.
What's that?
He put some cut paste.
Yep.
Before you wrap it?
No,
no,
as a
no,
final
just
step.
in the Oh, junction. right in there.
Just to
There
make
you go.
sure.
And you know, shame on me. I forgot some. Does anyone have any cut paste? Putty?
In the car, I do.
Okay.
I'll go get it.
Saving the day.
It's always when you need it, you can't find it, right?
That's it. Yeah. I know.
So parafilm
How
over the
much do you
foliage
worry-
and polyethylene for the.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
How much do you worry about keeping your knives clean?
How much do I worry about it?
Yeah.
Oh, I just clean them.
You don't feel they have to be absolutely
Sanitized?
sanitized?
Well, another good point.
Aha.
Alcohol prep pads.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
And I after sharpening them to get all the oil off, I just gave them a good strong cleaning,
I see. Yeah.
you know, with the alcohol pads.
Yeah.
And
that'll cut the oil.
yeah. And when I'm doing pines and spruce and stuff like that, because of the pitch, it tends to get gummy on the knife.
Yeah.
What I'll do is, you know, after each cut, then I'll just clean it up, you know, just to make it nice and smooth cut. While John's out there, I'm going to put on another one.
Is it too late to do pines now, you think?
If you're seeing green, you should
Mhm.
probably.
The small tape again was polyethylene tape?
Yeah, this is a pot. They sell this here for like $6 or $7. It's a polyethylene tape.
Versus the parafilm.
Yeah, I think it's a lot stronger for squeezing, you know, the two pieces together
Yeah.
to ensure that you're getting a match. So you can.
Is that the same thing as grafting tape?
I'm sorry.
Is that the same thing as grafting tape?
Yeah, this is grafting tape.
Well, mine's
that's
way
right.
wider.
Yeah.
Yeah, they make it in an inch.
Yeah.
They make it in.
That's what
This is like half an inch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. And then, it's flexible.
It's
I got
oh
paste
beautiful.
of it, but I need a
Probably the liquid. I need something a little bit.
piece of wire.
There you go. That'll be too
Yeah,
thick.
it's all polyethylene, polyethylene. Yeah.
Yes. The other thing about that, I like this stuff, but it.
Yeah. It tends to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does this work though?
I think this is small.
Yeah, it is.
It always gets caught.
What's the interesting about the button or the tape?
Okay.
I don't know. I wonder if that squeeze one is a little bit more viscous versus like.
And this is a nice paste because it's liquid.
Yeah.
It's basically this in a liquid.
So it's just a little more
Nice.
viscous. You can kind of get it in there.
Is it coming? Still clogged.
Tell you what, I'm gonna do this.
I'll just put it on.
Those squeeze bottles are always, the end is,
But it is, the cap doesn't stay on.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So you end up.
Dries out on you.
Yeah, but yeah.
Anything.
Anything that's that
Mm.
shape.
So this will keep the air from getting in and drying.
Just kind of get it in that like crack area.
Yep. Keep it from
Where
drying.
the
out.
tapes come together.
I would have brought my paintbrush too.
Oh yeah.
Oops.
So Peter, when you make like a Scion, if the Scion's a little smaller caliber than what you're going into, do you try to like, you're lining up one of the sides, right, versus slotting
Yes.
it right in the middle because you've got to get that lineup of the cambium, right?
Exactly.
The complete opposite of what I've been doing with apple trees in grafting. I flip it
stick it-
around, I'm
Yeah.
just slapping
Stick
them
it-
in,
stick it
yep,
right
and
in.
wrapping
Interesting
them. It
where the
works,
differences
but
are.
this is more like finesse and
Yeah, well, you're,
decorative. Yeah.
you're not caring so much
No,
about
I'm making
aesthetics.
a new branch for apples.
You just
exactly.
you just want the damn apples.
Yeah, there's decorative or there's agricultural, you know, for food production.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it just made me think for a second. I'm like, oh crap, have I been getting lucky with graph?
You could probably get more lucky now.
Yeah, they did take like that.
I think all of them took last year.
But it's also the size of the Scion
There
is
you go.
so
See,
different. Like
Can
we're
you- Is it in there?
Yeah.
grafting,
Mhm.
we're
I
grafting
can do
on
more at
something
home.
like a
Well,
cut
I'd
like
rather
that big
Do
with
it
a
when it's
Scion like that
yeah.
size.
Yeah, and I'll slip like 4 inch, so you just saw it off and then
Yeah, you
make
got that
4
one
cuts,
going, got a
peel
nice
that
clunk in
cambium
there.
once
Isn't
and
it?
just,
Yeah.
you know,
You
boom,
got a
boom,
good
Then
wrap
wrap
it
the
with
whole
the
thing like
parafilm and then
that.
actually put like a wound sealer goop And then have to keep all that moisture out, yeah.
When you get home, do the bottom
Okay.
of the shoe.
Sure, I will. You can, wait a minute, you mean here or here? Here.
Down there.
Down here, okay.
So what are you doing?
Yeah, put it in front. I'm gonna put the face down.
gotcha.
Yeah, where's the cap?
I got the cap.
Is that what came out?
That's what came out. I can.
Good clock.
Should be on eBay.
Put some putty on it now. So.
Here it is, now it's working.
Oh, it is? Oh, beautiful. All right.
How long do you think that'll take to take?
Well, he said about 6 weeks.
About 6 weeks.
You'll actually see it pushing,
Yeah.
trying to push through.
Like the picture.
Exactly.
Is there a reason why you use that putty there versus just what you were?
It's a lot quicker.
Quicker.
It's
Bigger area.
Bigger area, so you can work with it. You know. So it just you keep it from.
John, I might have read you don't want to have any nitrogen fertilizer at this stage because it might swell too much and puts the graft out.
I have no idea.
Might have been a video or something,
I
but
haven't seen that.
you haven't heard that?
These are high nitrogen.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I'll take them.
Organic though?
Maybe they're depleted.
It's
All right, so
great.
we'll do another one. I want to get one in here. Okay. I might go a little thinner.
So select your thickness, reduce the foliage on the scale, make the 2 cuts, make that cut, vary it, height, seal it.
Yep.
Not that much.
You said to reduce the foliage above the graft. Does that mean on each individual branch or just the leader?
I'll just kind of look at it and kind of eyeball it. Probably the whole thing. So that'll force the tree to invest in what's lower rather than what's higher. Because I see San Jose is a laterally dominant kind of species, and other types of junipers are apically dominant. So you want to consider what you have. So if you got like these San Jose, kind of
You keep this?
Oh no. Once I see this will probably be the leader and maybe do one there. And then we don't finish
This
up.
will be the little?
Probably this one, and then I'll do one here,
Yeah.
and then maybe in the back.
Okay. So, but for now, will you keep it?
Mugo pine?
Will you
Oh,
cut it
yeah.
off?
Yeah, I'm glad you
cut
brought
it
up
off in
mugo.
order to focus.
I've had,
You'll wait for. That's a good question to ask Peter.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is
they
how,
do
how long,
graft,
how much
but I
foliage
haven't
new
had any
before
success
you
with
can
it.
start
I've tried
cutting
grafting
that
Mugo to
deal.
Ponderosa.
Yeah.
I haven't had any
I
luck
think
with it. I've tried
want a good
grafting
amount of healthy
white
foliage
pine,
before
Japanese
you
white
start.
pine to Mugo.
Okay.
I
And maybe
haven't had
do
any
this in
luck with it.
stages.
So, but I have seen them in landscape nurseries. The Pomilio, which is kind of like the main strain of variant, and they do look like they're grafted to something. I haven't had any success with it. So, see how?
Demo's too hot.
Okay. See that? And all the scaly, flaky stuff I'll just clean.
There is a water machine and cups up there. If anyone's thirsty.
Okay. So, where's it going?
I think
This one?
here.
Yeah. Okay.
So that'll be a side branch, I guess.
And when I'm cutting, I'm not pushing, I'm actually drawing. See, I'm not
You're going at an angle, in other words.
at an angle.
Right.
It tends to cut better. See? There's my wedge. Yeah. Nice clean wedge.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Now that's my wedge cut. That's going to lift the flap. So now I can put my finger on the bottom without making contact with exposed tissue and make my longer cut.
Makes sense.
See?
Nice.
So much more control. That's crazy.
Nice.
See that little shade?
And when I'm putting it in my mouth, it's just to keep the moisture around the cambium. And I'm not actually touching it with my tongue. I'm just holding the base of the tape with my lips just to keep the humidity around it. So I can make my... I'm also going to measure the length of my my long cut with my chisel.
So you know how to go.
So I know how deep to go. So this is like mostly about 75%.
How many were here when Juan Andrade, might have been about 5 years, you guys were here?
I was here.
Not when he came here, but
And he did a grafting demo as
at
well.
Maps.
Yeah.
Remember y'all talking about it when I first started, that it was maybe a year or two before I started.
And they took, I forget who won the tree. Was it Chris Gilman?
I'm curious how that worked out.
I don't remember, but he was not losing that tree.
He was not what?
He was not losing that tree.
Well, he came, I remember he brought it back either in the fall or the next year, and the grafts all took. I don't know where he's at.
That's a great tool because it's you just run the flat along the thing and the taper.
Nice and control.
Jeez.
See?
Big difference.
Right in there.
Because that could go horribly wrong right at that stage. Otherwise.
That's why you gotta have backup branches to graft.
Oh, I'll have to come back.
Thank you.
So what if you don't have chisels? Go buy them.
If you don't have what?
If you don't have
If you
chisels,
don't have that
you just
A knife, you can if you
can
went
find them. I
if
mean,
you
I-
went to Home Depot and bought a chisel.
just like a standard wood chisel.
Yeah, those are called bench chisels. They the angle of them, you want to have something. These are about 15 to 22 degrees.
Okay.
Those things are like different.
You can get these still. I don't know how expensive they are.
Oh, they're incredibly expensive. I bought them
I got mine on sale too.
2008. And people know what that. They should know what that means.
Depression.
So, yeah, I got 3 of them for a good deal. See how the fold I just made?
Yep.
Right.
Sometimes you see them on the bonsai auction on Facebook or
They're labeled as
check
a grafting chisel.
check. You know,
Yep.
I have this unbelievably weird habit of every morning in coffee just checking eBay. And
Well,
I
you know.
put bonsai.
You ever,
but you never know what
Why
comes
not?
up. Somebody might be getting out of bonsai and
Where-
selling.
The place I found that's weirdly cheap sometimes is Facebook Marketplace.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you have a wide enough, like you don't mind driving an hour or two to go get something, you can find ridiculously good deals that don't last more than a couple of days a lot of
Doubt
times.
if you're gonna find Masakuni grafting chisels, but
You-
you never know.
You never, I
No.
found weirder, more niche stuff on there. You just,
Yeah,
people
there
don't know
are-
what they
there
have
are some
sometimes, so
cool
you have to
stuff.
like have a broad search, know what you're looking for.
Well, that might be in a divorce situation.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I'll show that bastard.
Yeah.
He ain't getting no grafting knives.
Yeah.
Get those chisels.
I breed
Or she ain't getting no
Have an outside
grafting
pond
knives.
That would be the
at
separation.
my house, and I
so.
breed fish. And I'll put them on.
Just keep wrapping
eBay,
over that other.
or not even.
Right up
Stretch.
until the
All the way to
buddy
the
tank.
end.
They'll be gone in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't
Koi,
found
is that what you
Well, they're actually goldfish comets, but they look just like koi. They're a lot more hardy.
anything I found good on Facebook Marketplace didn't last a week, so
Oh, yeah?
you got to be on top of looking for
They
it.
have great big feathery
Are
tails.
people pretty
I'll
good
wait
about-
sometimes and it's gone. It's always gone.
That's what I'm
So it looks
afraid
just
of,
like a
because
koi.
See that?
And you can buy them at the pet store.
When you're,
47.
if your grafts don't take, Peter, do you ever know why, or is it just a kind of a mystery? Or
No, sometimes it's sometimes maybe I didn't put on maybe when I was wrapping the foliage, there was like air getting in. Maybe maybe I broke something because the foliage is kind of delicate, you know. Maybe I was breaking it, handling it too hard. You know, when I was putting the buddy tape on, maybe it could be anything. It might have been a cold snap. It could have been
That's
because our seasons.
New England can be, you know. That's
Yeah,
what
like
happened
the
to me.
snow
I'm
last
pretty sure
Saturday.
that's what happened last year. It got too cold. I didn't bring a tree in.
I use a granny knot rather than a square. I think I'm using a granny knot.
Granny knot.
Yeah.
As opposed to a square knot.
Yeah.
Not sure I know
It'll hold better.
Your granny knot's like your shoelace tying knot, more like
Okay.
the
Yeah.
square knot's very
The square
specific.
knot is what you can undo.
Yeah.
And the granny isn't.
Hopefully, it didn't clog up in 30 minutes. It did. It was coming out.
It looks nice. Very good shape, John.
They eat. Ear split.
Polyethylene.
They sell it here, so
Well,
I think.
everyone knows the problem with the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Japan doesn't have enough containers to ship things out.
Mhm.
New England Bonsai has like 2 containers worth of stuff to come here.
Mhm.
Has had for months, but they don't have enough containers.
Sitting in a
to ship.
warehouse.
Oh, the port.
Well, you know, I told them last week that you need 2.5 aluminum, and they're like, sorry.
Yeah,
we're out.
I don't.
Copper?
1.5.
from
I
Jonas.
use 1.5 to tie Shohin.
Yeah.
They don't have it.
Is that piece of nice piece of copper?
It's over behind the
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
Their containers are
I'm
all
gonna
tied
do
up.
is just
The Panama Canal situation doesn't help anything.
It's all around the world.
Yeah, it's happening everywhere.
a unique time.
Yep, not the Suez Canal, but. Okay. That's another one.
Peter, are you a purist with certain brands of tools, or like Japanese tools in general, Kanishin,
Whatever, you know, whatever works.
Mhm.
There's Kanishin I've looked at. I like them because they're long and I can get really, you know, I haven't used them though. So in my mind, I think I can get in really tight areas where my hands aren't going to be. And then just get in there with like tweezers to make placements. See, I wanted to be an eye surgeon, but I'm hanging out with you slobs. And, but, you know,
I guess this is plant surgery.
yeah, in a way. So now I'm going to clean stuff. I did 2 cuts.
You know, like Masakuni is considered like the Mercedes-Benz of
Mhm.
tools.
Yeah.
But they don't make the best scissors. They're not very fine. Same with their pliers. They're a little wider than Kanishin.
First time I've using the Kanishin stuff, and I've really liked
It's a
it.
very good quality
Oh, yeah.
Japanese tool.
How are they priced?
They're not bad.
Decent.
I mean, they're not Masakuni, obviously. That's ridiculously expensive, but
Yeah.
There's about
I'd say they're moderate.
Yeah.
What's the other brand, John?
Kanishin?
Kanishin, K-A-N.
K-A-N.
E-S-I-H-I-N. They actually used to sell on. They have an English site. You can go to Kanishin. You
Yeah,
can buy
they do.
direct from Japan. They'll ship it to you.
I'll do
Eventually.
this one
Yeah.
Someday.
You buy that?
What's that?
I said eventually they'll ship it to you.
No, their EMS shipment is.
Oh, okay.
good.
So they're all short, small.
Yeah, if you're gonna buy something, a few pairs of scissors or something, that'll come quick. What a gorgeous day.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
God.
I got
What a difference a week
a
makes.
San
huh?
Jose to transplant tomorrow.
In New England, every hour, you know.
It'll be pouring.
Like 60
Oh, I
degrees
know.
difference.
Do you have a protected area?
For that, I'd love to do it. It's just I need someone to help me move it because it's so big.
Well, I live
Yeah.
in
Oh,
Marblehead.
collected, you said.
So if
Oh,
you want to give me your.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in Salem.
Yeah, I heard that. So,
Oh, there
so
you
that's
go.
why I can. If
So
you
are
need a
you,
hand
are
tomorrow.
you a plumber?
What?
Are you a plumber? No, because you said.
No, I'm a surgeon.
No, I
Oh, okay. When you said Teflon tape.
I said that.
Oh, okay.
And I
Are you a
have
plumber?
worked with plumbers in the past.
Okay. What kind of surgery do you do?
I'm a plastic surgeon.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I-
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
So,
Different kind of aesthetics.
Are you out on the, are you out on the neck?
No.
Do you know Dick Buckley?
Yeah.
He mentioned you to me, I think, one time, many, many years ago.
Maybe.
How long have you had a tree collection?
10 years, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that might have been about the time he and I were talking trees. I had him over like when I went to the what do you call it, the ginkgo exhibitions, and he was over taking care of my trees. So when he mentioned someone out on the neck or in Marblehead, a surgeon with the collection.
Peter, could you prepare like 5 or 6 of those and just stick them under some damp paper towels?
Yep, you could do that, or leave them in a bowl of water that you've probably seen. But I don't know if I trust that. I like to have them like really fresh when I'm doing it. It's slower, but you know, sometimes when I'm working for myself, my own stuff, speed doesn't matter. It's more of preparation and accuracy. Like that cut?
mm-hmm.
See that?
Nice.
So if you're too late in the season to graft, is it because they're swelling too quickly, or they're growing too fast and it'll put the graft out? Or... I realize that's something.
See, that's about the same caliper.
Yeah.
See that? See, that's in there. That wedge is holding it nice, long enough for me to wrap it.
So when that grows in, it'll be flexible enough to move it however you want.
Yeah. Take a shot inside there. I want to show you something. And I'm going to kind of illustrate that. You see there's a little bit of green there that I didn't completely cut off. I don't cut, like when I'm taking off my extraneous foliage, I don't cut completely flush because I want to take advantage of whatever meristem tissue that might put out a bud, some foliage. So I just kind of leave it that way. And I'm not worried about it desiccating or torching under this tape because you're not really losing anything. I've seen with my California juniper when I had a bigger tree, and after taking off the buddy tape and leaving on the polyethylene tape, I've actually seen it in a sense layer, produce roots under there. I've got photos of that. It was just up late trying to put something together for you. I didn't have time to get that one on. Yeah, they do funny things. I've done black pine where the terminal shoot had actually died, but the foliage lived. And if you think of black pine cultivation practices to keep the foliage short, you know how you're cutting your candles and stuff like that. Well, the tree is almost like it treated it as cutting a candle, and it put out the second flush of growth later in the season. So they'll do funny things. I've got pictures of that too, but maybe if you ever want to do a slideshow, I can show you. All right.
Remember, opposite side.
Yeah, I can see that.
Opposite side, what?
He makes the knot on the opposite side of the graft at the end.
Oh, okay.
So you don't put the knot. You don't make a kink on the vascular tissue on this side. I hope I finish before closing because I got to buy some pots.
Oh, it's only it's not even 4 o'clock. So you got at least 5 more grafts to do. I would last like 1 over here.
So I'm getting paid, let's say, a graft an hour. So.
How many cumulatively was the aim again?
Is the what?
How many
targeting.
cumulatively? The targeted amount?
How many grafts were you putting on?
Probably, I'm going to do this one. And I'm probably see if you can get one on here. This one I'm not even going to do.
No,
Okay.
This actually snapped a little
Oh, it did?
last year,
Okay.
but it seems to have healed and it's
Well, don't touch it then.
Yeah.
unless you wanted to do it on
No.
Could you do it on the larger stem, on the main stem?
this one.
No,
Yeah.
no, the one below.
Yeah, you could.
I could,
guess.
but
Unless you did it
Hard to get it to grow the right
close.
direction.
Well, no, I don't know if you could do it that close.
Yeah. Well,
Well.
you could bend it down,
Well, we'll see
Yeah.
how he approaches it.
or even do it at an angle. I wonder if you could do it sideways rather than do it laterally.
Well, the camion doesn't line up.
you can do sideways.
Can you?
It's just that you can't do them upside down. I know that there is an artist who I'm not going to name because I don't know the logic of him doing it. But he says you can do junipers upside down. I've only gotten about maybe a year or two of where the shoot actually they weaken over time. See, what's happening is there's something in the tissue itself called pits, which are microscopic holes. I was going to say something else. But what happens is in pines they have more holes or pits in other than they do junipers. Junipers have less pits and they're smaller. And the older the tissue is, the less it even has. And what the pits do, they allow for water, dissolved minerals to kind of go laterally. So the plant has full like hydrostatic pressure throughout. Okay. And as you can tell, like even if you're looking at picture books of display books of junipers, you see all that winding. It's killing off tissue, and giving you that nice dead wood and green. And you don't see that as much with pine or just put that in the bag, or juniper or something like that. So that's great. And so I'm going to go for this one, and then I'm going to
Josh, let me show you where. I mean, it seems to have healed. This was like right there, and you can see the callus.
Okay.
Well, it's still pulling away, but
well, we'll
it's
see what
alive.
happens. It's not like you're going to need it, but at least try it.
So somebody else asked, but I'm going to repeat it.
Okay.
About when do you start taking off the native foliage?
The following year, you start weaning it back. Some people, I'm very conservative when I'm doing things. It's 3 years before it's all off. Some people, they'll take it off after the graft year, take it all off. Some people have seen with approach grafting, once the approach is successful, they'll cut off all, the indigenous foliage, but leave the approach graft on there with its pot. And I don't understand that, but if it works, it works.
All of it?
Yeah, I've seen it done, but I've never seen the end result of it, whether it was a successful technique. Because people that I've done approach grafting for who have done that, they've lost not only the tree, you know, but their approach wood too. So I don't recommend it, but if someone can prove to me that it is doable, then I'm open to seeing it.
At your own risk.
Yeah, not at my risk. This one right here.
So Peter, when you're selecting this, you're mainly looking for the caliper to kind of get close to what you got there?
Yeah, I'm looking for wood that I know I can cut into with the knife without losing the shoot or cutting myself too. So this, I'm hoping that's not fungus, it's just torched. Yeah. It's alright.
I don't think it's fungus.
Yeah.
Peter, would you ever graft with a Scion like this into the trunk, or no, because it's just low chance of success?
I've done it.
You've done it?
Yep. If you've got thin branches, I like to work with them as much as I can. But it depends on what you have in front of you too, so you're weighing all of that. I'm also weighing as well what I'm going to use for a knife or tape or what, so.
And could you explain the thing again? Earlier you were saying when you were using the grafting chisel, you don't come at it flush, you kind of come at it at an angle?
Well, either the grafting chisel, you don't really have much of a choice but to cut flush. It's with the grafting knife, when you're cutting your Scion wood, you come at it at an angle.
Okay, okay.
Because it's a smoother, cleaner cut.
Gotcha.
And you're not pushing your way through tissue. It takes practice to kind of get this, because you know, to make a complete, you know, seal. You just don't want to have open seams where, you know, the moisture's going to get out and it's going to desiccate. I want to maybe take a picture of this as I'm sizing it up in terms of its caliper. See that? So it's close to it. You know? You bring it over here. See that?
Alright, how long can you film?
I got just under 10 more minutes.
Oh yeah?
I had 2 hours total, so.
Wow.
And that's these are tiny memory cards. I got a bigger one coming in this week. It'll give me like 5 hours. So
Oh, good.
my batteries are a limiting factor then. So
That was very handy to have it. Something like this.
but then I go to like higher frame rate and resolution to eat up the memory space. So but yeah, in the end, I'm gonna have 3 batteries. I can shoot for about 3 hours.
Yeah, nice wedge cut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice wedge cut.
Yes.
Back into it.
This is the most obnoxious weed.
Which one? All of them.
There's a few that are.
No, this one's vicious because it just keeps.
Roots get real deep.
It's about halfway. So.
Did you show the measuring on that again? 'Cause I don't think I got a good close up of that before. It's very interesting how you do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you're just visually looking at it in your chisel to
Yeah.
know how far to go.
Guessing it.
Nice.
Holds it down that far. I bought it in 2019.
You haven't
And
done
I-
anything with it?
Well, we tried grafting last spring. That didn't work. No, I've just been feeding it, getting acclimated to the East Coast and not the mountains of.
You know the zone on that? Is it 7 or 6?
Oh no, it's probably they
5.
grow in the mountains, so
Yeah.
4 or 5, I would think. I have to ask Jeremiah. Some of them don't grow as high as others. Well, you know, the California juniper is more of a desert. Though it does get cold, but it gets extremely dry and hot this summer. Oops. Okay. We didn't want to do that one anyways.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to hold on? That's
Yeah,
pretty
if you,
tender.
yeah, it's kind of fragile.
Oops.
Got it? Alright.
What happened on the previous branch there?
I cut the branch off.
Just
I
too
went,
deep on
I
the
went too
chisel?
deep, yeah.
Going on top.
What's that?
And we'll put it on top. Okay.
Am I on it?
You all right?
I think so. The label.
Yeah.
Is this the tape that can be, you can substitute Teflon tape for?
No, that's the, this is the polyethylene tape
Okay,
used to make the graft union.
okay.
This is this the stuff you buy the Japanese like they used to sell here in a yellow box. I think
Could be, yeah.
it wasn't a.
You can get it anywhere. I years ago they were selling it in bulk somewhere. I got like 10 for,
Leonard maybe or one of those.
might have been
sites.
Leonard. Ridiculously low.
We're not past.
For the budding tape, you were going no more than 50% overlap. You can do quite a bit of overlap with the polyethylene.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's
Yeah.
more adhesion.
getting all the
We're
strength.
not letting it grow through it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I thought I heard that you used Teflon tape.
I use buddy tape, which is a blend of Teflon, parafilm, or paraffin
That's
wax.
the buddy tape, yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't use the buddy tape for what you're doing right now.
No,
But why couldn't you use Teflon tape for this?
for that you could. It's a lot tougher. You could do it, but what?
But I wouldn't be able to get this, I don't think.
Yeah, well, you probably could.
I'll look if I find where I got it.
It's just the,
find it on Amazon.
what I like about this
God,
is
Amazon.
it's strong, but it's also clear.
That's good quality.
And the clarity is going to let me see whether or not I have callus tissue.
I just looked up the buddy tape and it's like
Yeah, so you're opaque, fully like white opaque with
Yeah,
the
do
Teflon
they have
tape.
that on Amazon? Buddy tape?
Rarely.
no readily.
Readily.
Yeah, you can find buddy.
I mean,
Yeah.
20 vendors came up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to tie it. Okay. Another thing too, over time, what you may start to see is little beads of water in there, and that's good. is what it's doing is the foliage is drawing moisture.
Yep. You see that
roots.
underneath the buddy tip.
Yeah. It's transparent.
Because the budding tape is permeable for water and all to go through, right?
It's permeable for air circulation,
Got it. Okay.
but it's opaque enough to hold moisture.
Right. Right, because that was the old putting the bag over it was doing the same kind of thing. Yeah.
Now, do some people use pins?
Yep, I have pins, and I use it for approach grafting.
Okay.
I use electrical staples too.
Huh.
So, if I were doing an approach graft on this, it would be on the trunk. But it's kind of small though. It would be something bigger
Okay.
and a little later in the season.
Okay.
But the
Like late spring, like a June time frame?
yeah, you can do it now. It's like as I mentioned earlier when I was during the talk, is when I have a Parsons, a really big one, and I repotted it, and it's responding well to the light so far. It's only been a week. I'm going to watch it for the next couple of weeks. But then when I do it, it's just that the areas where I want foliage are just so big that it's really kind of impractical to be wrapping 1.5 inch polyethylene tape around. So what I can do is just do an inlay approach. Just cut into the tissue, pack it in, piece of rubber, and a piece of stick, electrical staples on there, and on the edges, the seams, I'll be putting the paste around there just to ensure that there isn't any drying out.
So what are you using the electrical staples for?
Electrical staples for wider, wide tissue.
Oh, around it.
Yeah.
I see.
Because it's just not, because the trunk and the areas are so big, it's not really practical.
Understood.
To be doing any time. So I'll just reduce a little bit. This I'm not going to touch. Maybe up here. Just to redirect the tree's energies into down here.
So 6 weeks you take, hopefully, and then how long to remove the...
He said you
Next
can
year.
do some maybe the second year.
Well, the
No, you're
probably talking about the tape.
Oh, the tape.
With the tape, it's really pushing through hard.
Yeah.
You're going to kind of eyeball it, and then when it really looks like it's pushing hard and struggling, you might tease it open a little bit.
Gotcha.
Like make like a canoe, slice on the side upwards, get it under a tree, give it just kind of like morning sun, mist it in the morning, like that, and then maybe late August, get all of the wrapping off, put it in full sun, and the sun is kind of low in the sky, like late August towards September, then maybe give it, really feed it, just to ensure that you're going to get some more out.
Do you foliar feed? Because they do like, in the spring anyways, they say,
I do it, yeah.
respond to foliar feed.
I do. I'll like when I take them out of storage for the spring, I'll just I'll like this Miracle Grow that you attach to the hose. I'll give it that foliar, and then I'll just put on my solid fertilizer, so they'll just get a quick boost, and then until the other stuff breaks down. So there's John's tree.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Awesome.
Tree.
Very good.
His branch is nice. First.
So when do you take the
foliage.
polyethylene tape off?
Second year.
Okay, leave it on that long.
Yeah, because what will happen is it's still pretty fragile. You only have, like, if you think of one ring of wood, 1 year's worth of growth. So you want to keep that in there. Like a bird can knock it off, looking for bugs or something. So you just want to keep that, for the year. Then the second year it'll come off. So there's John's tree.
Very nice.
So you said you put it in the sun until you start removing that tape, and then you get it in the shade and mist.
Yeah, once they really start to push, and you open up the buddy tape, like cut with a vertical slice. Don't cut horizontally because you'll be cutting more tissue. So vertically, just tease it open a little bit like a canoe, and then that's when you're going to give it like morning sun or filtered sun that from the trees.
Apple
throughout the
tree.
year. Until about the middle of August, then all the buddy tape comes off, and then you put it in full sun. You're misting in the mornings and stuff.
Until that point, though, when you start making the canoe, is it in sun or are you putting it in more dappled?
You're putting it in full sun until
Okay.
it really starts to push and it's forcing
Got it.
its way through. And then when it looks like it's pushing really strong, you just kind of want to open it up if it's still struggling to do that.
And did you say with fertilizing, you don't fertilize until later in the season, maybe a little bit, if you graft?
I'll feed it. I won't give it high nitrogen. I'll just give it, what I use is tree tone,
Okay.
in tea bags. It's a low concentration and it feeds it slowly. So.
Got it.
But whether, I mean, I've read that you're not supposed to feed it, but I do anyway. I won't give it high nitrogen because that, may cause a problem. That may redirect all the energy to the other parts of the tree.
Got it. Got it.
These
What do you
John,
want, any Sierra cuttings?
these John's true. Stick them in the ground. So that's.
Actually, nobody wants.
Very good. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very informative. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm-
Great, very good.
Enjoy it.
I'll definitely take some, John. I've been planning some trimmings recently. So.
That case, the tube. Yeah. Take a picture.
You know what?
Collection.
I bought one. I like that, and I bought one this year. The only one who has it is Sumo Bonsai.
Yeah.
Really?
Buddy tape you can get at Sumo. I get mine at A.M. Leonard, but I didn't realize that Sumo has it. They have it considerably
Some of
less.
these new companies, Sumo.
And it comes in a box. These guys, they just send me the bare thing on wax paper.
Which one?
Well, thanks so much for the demonstration.
You're welcome.
Very good.
Glad to do it.
That green